And we are live. What's going on, everyone? It's Talks with Kenny. This will be episode 62. We're going to be talking about Democrats, fake news, why doing your own research can lead to misinformation, according to experts. We're going to talk about Trump's poll numbers after his failed assassination attempt and why certain people are starting to come around to Trump, right? So we'll do all that reaction earlier. But first, I want to start off with, Democratic chaos, Joe Biden. So betting markets show high probability of Biden dropping out of the presidential race. This is crazy. People are literally betting whether or not Joe Biden is going to drop off the presidential election. This is some craziness. 76% chance of people saying yes. This is crazy. A growing number of those in the betting markets have put their money behind the prediction that Joe Biden will drop out of the presidential race on Thursday evening. A record 92% of users said that they believe his campaign will soon be over. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the chat. Do you believe by the end of the weekend, Joe Biden is going to be in the nursing home? Or I think Joe Biden's going to drag this out because I think August 1st or around, I don't think he's dropping out any earlier before August. If he does, I'll be surprised. Because this man, I think he's going to go down swinging, bro. Especially with, I don't know. But the fact that these people are just, they're like, yo, yeah, you're hurting the party. These people are ruthless. I ain't going to lie. All their talk for democracy and all this stuff, it's baffling to me. And Vivek called it out a long time ago. So that leaves us with Kamala or not the Kamala. That is the question because allies of Kamala Harris perhaps plan for her to lead DNC ticket if Biden drops out of the race, right? And it sparks this big public discussion because Black Democrats have threatened the Democratic Party, saying that if they hop over Kamala, they'll be held to pay. And I'm like, damn, when these Black constituents, they really are that loyal, huh? Well, what's her name? AOC has came out and she gave some public discussions or public statement about the fact that the Democratic Party do not want Kamala. This is why they want an open convention, a contested convention. They want Joe Biden to essentially endorse an open convention. Because I showed you the poll numbers when I did my reaction to Donald Trump's speech that Trump still beats her. Her poll numbers are still in the same range as Biden, right? So I don't know where all this stuff is going, but this feels like a drama show, honestly. This is why I gotta lead it with the Democratic chaos right here, bro. So let's hear what she has to say, and then I'll give my thoughts at the end.
And I'm going to say what a lot of these folks aren't saying. I'm just going to say it. If you think that there is consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave, that they will support Kamala, Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. And I'm going to say that because if they're going to come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not going to be fully honest, I'm going to be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations. A lot of them are not just interested in removing the president. They are interested in removing the whole ticket.
And that's why Kamala Harris's allies are going ape shit right now, trying to protect her because the Black voters, right? And the political calculation here is that I always joke around how the Democratic Party has the Black community or the Black America is in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party, and that's mostly true for the Black woman, right? Let me see. I got some stats for you guys. I wanted to highlight here. Give me 1 second. So, as you all know, not Democrats women. Sorry. If you see by sex, women are more likely to vote for Biden than men are. Now, as you see, white men majority goes for Trump. White women majority goes for Trump. Black men 79% for Biden. But look at the black woman, 90%. And I think this is the core constituency. This is one of the reasons why they're so adamantly behind Kamala Harris. Men in every demographic is more conservative than their female counterpart, but you got the Roland Martins of the world, the Michael Steeles of the world, the Bakari Sellers of the world, who thinks that black men should just be falling behind black women. When already made the argument numerous times on my channel that the interest of black men is not in the Democratic Party. This is why black men are more likely to be conservative than a black woman. Because black men don't benefit from the DEI the same way black women do. Black men don't benefit from student loan forgiveness the same way black women do. But for some reason, a black woman will sit here and say, "Oh my God, you're drinking the mega Kool-Aid. Oh my God, you're more likely to fall into misinformation, disinformation." And I have a counter for that talking point later on today. But this is why they're all so scared. Roland Martin, who's a prominent black Democrat, vote blue no matter who kind of guy, he was hesitant to endorse Kamala Harris in front of Pierce Morgan. He said, this is the logical choice. The logical choice is not to put Harris because Harris has the same poll numbers as Biden. Here's what I was talking about. From the Hill, Trump expands his lead over Biden. The headline just disappeared. Trump expands lead on Biden after shooting polls. So Trump extended his lead after the shooting. Many people who could have saw that coming. Everyone with a brain. And I want to highlight certain things because Joy Reid is scared right now, right? Joy Reid is like she's making these claims about white adjacent black men or white adjacent. So I want to show that clip with you guys. I wanted to sit down and actually highlight this clip with you.
Election, right?
Give me a second to get the video prepped up. And yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were talking about this during the break. I mean, this is the Javier Milei election, right? I mean, and then in Argentina, that's how that went, which is that you had this coalition of, and not to be cruel, but it was described as sort of an incel election. It was the young, angry men of Argentina who they wanted a macho candidate, and it went along with policies like banning abortion, banning birth control, and the idea of no fault divorce. It all kind of goes together. That you've seen this kind of election before. You see the same thing in Hungary. Like the Orbanism of the party it's rooted in returning white Christian men, but also white men, white adjacent men, black men, brown men who are white adjacent in terms of trying to also be in that dominant position in society. And then you have women who are willing to go along with that, right? There are a certain number of women who are also willing, the trad wife sort of thing. And
so you see, now you heard that. When did the traditional family become a white adjacent thing? Right? And this is my problem with coded language. This is why my problem with whiteness or blackness. Oh, you're not politically black and all this garbage that the feminist black woman kind of, because at the end of the day, black women are the ones that leads this coalition of the loyal Democratic voter. Yeah, you see, black men are 79%, black women are 90%. So that means black women on average support the Democratic Party 11% more than the black men. And they want to criticize you. And this is the weird thing I find with a lot of women in the black community, and this is the last time I'll speak about it. They want you to vote in their interest, but the nuclear family benefits our society, our communities as a whole. Essentially, when black women vote for the Democratic Party, they're essentially choosing themselves over the community. Abortion, who that hurt? That hurt your offspring, that hurt the children, that hurt the future of the community. Because if abortion was banned in 1972 instead of being codified in Roe v. Wade, our population number would have exploded. We could have been the second largest population in America. You don't think that comes with a lot of political power? It does. And it also makes it harder for a political party like the Democratic Party to control and manage such a large community. That's why they're having such trouble with the Hispanic vote right now. But black women are allowed to abort, right? In certain liberal cities, more black women abort their children than they are born. But this is the platform you support, right? Every time I put it in the lens of a pro-black, because that's the argument. Voting Democrat it means you're pro-black, right? Thomas Sowell quote: "The whole political vision of the left, including socialism, communism, have failed by virtually every empirical test in countries all around the world. But this has only led leftist intellectuals to evade and denigrate empirical evidence. When I look at the empirical evidence, voting Democrat is not benefiting the black community. But Joy Reid continues and continues to tell black men, if you're pro-family, you refuse to be handpicked by a bitter feminist, you're white adjacent. This is why I want Trump to win 20% of the vote, 20% of the black vote, right? This is why I keep telling it. To me, it's like I'm speaking mostly to black men. I'm not speaking mostly to black women. I know there's black women out there that are sympathetic to my arguments. They hear what I'm saying. They're open to my ideas. And hey, God bless you. But for the majority of black women, I think black women gotta have to deal with black women, because I'm noticing black men are more receptive to what I have to say. When I talk about, hey, Trump wants to remove, how you call it? Trump wants to remove income tax. All the men like, when I mentioned that to a friend of mine during my son's baby birthday party, sorry, he perked up. He was like, "Damn, Trump said that." I said, "Yeah." Trump said he was thinking about abolishing the income tax because most men work for their income, right? Most men don't use government welfare, government programs at the same rate women do. It's not natural for men to, live off the system. And if they are usually living off the system, they usually learn that from their single mom, right? I'm just throwing in facts. Don't call me a sexist. Don't call me nothing. I'm just stating facts here. Don't label me something just because you don't have an argument, liberal woman. Look at it. Latino men, they vote Democrat, but they vote more Republican than they do Democrat compared to the women. The women in the Latino community, they vote 10% more for the Democratic Party. The least gaps is between the white community. But if you don't vote Democrat as a black person, as a minority, somehow you're voting against your best interest. Make it make sense, right? People are being convinced by Trump, right? Because I want to actually, before I leave off the black community, I want to touch upon it one more time, because this is something I've been speaking about a long time. If everyone thought the same thing about an issue, can you really say the people are thinking? The black community at large votes 90, almost 88% for the Democratic Party. And when a Republican or a conservative bring out his ideas, they're quick to condemn it. Oh, you're a coon, you're this. They call you names because they don't actually have an argument, because it's not a rational decision they're making when they vote Democrat. And this is why I don't understand this blind allegiance, this blind loyalty to the Democratic Party. So in this video, a black pastor is going to make similar arguments that I have made numerous times on my channel about, hey, black America, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, that's insanity. And for 60 years, and he's going to make the same argument I'm making. For 60 years, you've been voting for a same party that many people I come in contact to says that they're in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party only comes around every 4 years and they don't respect the black vote. Of course, they don't respect the black vote. Look at the women. Many of the men say, hey, I think we should go a different direction. Oh, Trump is racist. Trump is this, just as this. I'm like, yo, how is it in your best interest to allow illegal immigrants to come over the border and they're taking money out that could have been going to your communities and is being used to shelter them, feed them, for their health care, for their Medicare? They're taking resources away from you. And then you're going to complain, black woman, you're going to complain about, the illegals are kicking my kids out of the YMCA in Chicago, Philadelphia. How come you giving these illegals, they living in fancy luxury apartments in luxury hotels in New York, being subsidized by our tax dollars? We got to pay taxes. They don't got to pay nothing. They getting all these resources. Hey, it's Biden's fault. And who voted for Biden? You did. But instead of making the logical choice and saying, hey, I'm not going to reward this party because they have put in a system or an incentive where it doesn't benefit me rationally to continue voting for them, that the Democratic Party has exposed themselves as an anti-American party, but I'm gonna still vote for them because of what? Feelings. because I only listen to Democrats. I only hearing one side of the story, and Democrats told me Republicans were bad, evil, and they was going to take away my government benefits, and they're going to end Social Security if I put them in office. All the Democrats have is fear. They use fear to they use fear to scare Black Americans from even looking at a Republican's way. Oh, look at that. That's a racist party. Oh, they don't care about you. They're only for the party of the rich. They're going to shun you, ostracize you. That's why they were so scared of Amber Rose when she was speaking on the RNC. This is why Joy Reid is so threatened or saddened about Black conservative support, and why she has to try to characterize them as coons and tap dancers. Because she can't let it be socially acceptable for Black people to vote Republican. And I say, F that. That's why I put my face behind my words. Because courage is contagious. I honestly believe that. I believe courage is calling. Courage is calling to try something different, Black America. That is my plea to you. But enough of my little monologue. Let's hear what this pastor has to say.
But one of the things I want to say, I'm Pastor David Lowry, Universal Baptist Church. One of the things that I want to say is this. To the American people and patriots across this country, Black people have been with the Democratic Party for over 60 years, and we have nothing. We don't own anything in our community. We have no schools. There's no businesses in the Black community. All we have is crime and problems. So as a pastor, I'm standing up here with Bob Ferretti and some of the other Black leaders. The truth of the matter is this. Why should Black people keep voting for the Democrats when they don't have nothing? We need to understand this. We need to go and take a look at the Republican Party, but the Republican Party needs to be visual and need to do things in the Black community. If we do that, we can make the change. We already know the Democrats are not going to do nothing. I'm the grandson of Eloise Barton, the second lady ever elected to the City Council of Chicago, 16 Ward. And now what we see, there's nothing that the Democrats have done or will they do across this country for Black people but use us. So why not Black people? Let us give the Republicans a chance to show what they can do for our communities as well.
Have Republicans done that?
That is something. Has Republicans done that? I can tell that was a liberal woman that said that. But that's something I've been saying for a long time. Hey, Black America, you can do some deal making while your vote still matters. Because at the end of the day, illegal immigration, if they get their way, they're able to nationalize these citizens. They make them U.S. citizens. They can essentially replace their dependency on the Black community voting 90% for them. You don't see that illegals actually threaten your power, your leverage that you have, the little power you have in our politics. Because Democrats need the Black vote to win. Republicans already show them they don't need the Black vote to win. And my thinking here as a political strategist, if I put my pro-Black hat on, is like, yo, you need to be able to do some deal making. Look, 60 years we've been voting Democrat. Not much has changed. The same problems you complained 10 years ago, you're still complaining now. The problems you complained 5 years ago, you're still complaining now. Why we keep reporting this party? Like, these policies don't work for us. Student loan forgiveness only benefits the Black woman, but minute we say, yo, males need to go into schools. Hey, men are falling behind in classrooms and all this stuff. The feminist rah girl boss stuff is not helping the community. Because the Black woman is the most educated person, the most educated group in the Black community, but the Black community is still at the bottom. So make that make sense to me as a Black man. Make that make sense to me. Our women are the most educated person in our group, yet we're still at the bottom. Make that make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. So it's not education, but any incentive to empower. This is why I think Black men are so have such an appeal to the conservative movement right now. Because conservative movement is like, yo, you don't need to go to college. A lot of Black men agree with that sentiment. They feel that sentiment. They're like, yo, I don't want to sit here in a classroom. I just want to go do stuff. I want to start a business. I want to do a trade or work in a skill. Why do I have to sit on my butt and wait another 4 years before I can actually dig into the things that I'm interested in? This is the incentives that people have been pointing out. I have been pointing out. College is not the only way to success. And the Republican Party is the only one that's willing to create an incentive structure that rewards that kind of mentality. Because at the end of the day, that's all the government can really do. The government can't really help you with outcomes. It can try, but it comes at a great cost. I already mentioned student loan forgiveness. It increased inflation. It contributed to 27% of the inflation increase that we experienced throughout Biden's administration. So that means if I'm only focusing on the black community with this policy, Biden rewarded his most loyal constituency, the black woman, who's more likely to be in student loan debt compared to other races of women at a larger rate. He forgive their student loans, and then he raises the cost on the black men 27% more inflation. He contributed 27% more inflation to our problems, and we're not even going to college. So majority of America, 60% of America has not graduated from college. They're paying for the 40%. The majority is paying for the minority. Why? Because the Democrats use bribery to gain allegiance. Just like the war on poverty, Lyndon B. Johnson created an incentive structure where they say, hey, black women, you don't really need your man. We can provide what your man can't, your man can't. We can give you a consistent income. We can take care of your kid. We can do all this stuff. And then the black woman got this incentive where she was like, oh, I don't need a man. That's where it started from. Because she, as an opportunist, she saw, oh, I could get government benefits if the man's not in the house. And the black women got socially conditioned, right? Because they love to use social conditioning. They got socially conditioned in this feminist mindset, single woman. I'm strong and independent. No, you're strong and dependent on the government. And this is what created this culture, black culture, that we see today in 2024. It all started in the 1960s. But God forbid, black men want to return to the time where we were 80% married before in the 1930s, where we stayed together, we were religious, we had good families, low crime rate. We were more married than the white community during the Jim Crow era, remember? Byron Donalds brought it up. Now everyone was calling him, oh, you thought it was better under Jim Crow? No. We pointed out a circumstances where when the black community was together, even Jim Crow couldn't destroy what we had going on in the family. Imagine that. The black family survived slavery, Jim Crow, but it couldn't survive liberalism, progressivism, feminism, the feminist mindset. Imagine that. Feminism destroyed the black family better than slavery, Jim Crow ever could. Segregation, none of that stopped the black family, but feminism did. Liberal ideology did. And Jen Joy Breed's gonna sit here and pretend, oh, you're white adjacent because you want to go back to conservatism. When socially, black people are naturally conservative. Craziness. Let's finish out the video.
Or are you still searching?
No, there's no search. The Republicans have reached out for a lot of the black leaders like myself, Brother Carter, Paul McKinley, and we've sat down with them and we started to talk. I've been talking to Mr. Porter and some of the other leaders on how we can start getting together. But let this be clear. As a contractor for the Heritage Foundation during the primary season, we sent teams out to the polling places in the black community. And we found exactly what President Trump was talking about. We found thumb drives. We found the printers. We found Democratic judges who was posing as Republican judges. So it's the polls that's being inundated with the cheating. We have receipts for everything I've said. I also saw in those polling places where the Democrats were telling people that there are no Republican ballots. There's so many things going on in these polling places in the black community, and that's how the Democrats are able to keep and say Chicago is blue, but actually if the
Sorry, I thought I saw I froze for a bit. But yeah, everything said was pretty spot on. The Democrats were so desperate to keep their stranglehold on the black community is not even funny. And this is one of the reasons why I think a lot of the reasons the black community hasn't been able to be more open-minded to the Republican Party is because of the fact that the black woman has a stronger influence on what goes on in the black community than the black man does. See, when men get together, deals can be made because they're not so easily led with their emotion. Now, I'll concede that black men can be very emotional, but I believe that's because majority of us are raised by single moms. So it was a pattern of behavior we developed or was conditioned to develop being raised by a single mom. But a part of me is like, yo, this is what happened when you have male leadership because deals can be made. People can think rationally and say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We ain't going to keep rewarding this party over and over and over again. And they come around every 4 years expecting our vote. and then we don't get much like tangible benefit from it. Because at the end of the day, my biggest argument against why Black America should no longer vote Democrat, at least in this election, and at least give the Republican Party a chance, is that the Democratic Party has no incentive to actually help your situation. What do you mean by that, Kenny? If everything stays the same, if nothing changed in the Black community, Democratic Party is guaranteed to get at least 90% of your vote. If they change that, it's no longer a guarantee that you're going to show up for them at a 90% clip. So politically, Democrats are not incentivized to actually improve your situation, at least not too much. This is why they like to pander to you. This is why they like to do Hillary Clinton. I got hot sauce in my purse, right? They love to like focus on social justice, things that are not actually a problem in this country anymore. They want to rehash racism when racism's already been solved in the 60s. But they still acting like racism is still a problem today because it's distracting you from the real issues, the real problems in your community. You don't have economic opportunities. What leads to that? High rates of crime. This is why tough on crime works. Because if your neighborhoods are not safe to do business in, it creates an incentive where people don't want to do businesses in your neighborhood, and that creates less job opportunities for your people in your community. That's less wealth coming into your communities. Everything's interconnected, and you have to have a strong social community there. And it's hard to have a strong social community when everyone's is scared of being killed, robbed, assaulted, which is a big correlation in Black communities because they tend to be majority single moms. Majority single mom communities, especially ones near where Section 8 is prominent in, they have high rates of crime because there's high rates of poverty. You can't negate these correlations. But then when conservative men like me come out and say, hey, our Black culture should be incentivizing people to get married, have kids, two-parent household, Democrats, and especially Black Democrats, like to try to dismiss that and say, no, that's whiteness. What? To create a kid, it takes two, right? So wouldn't it take two to raise a kid? But having a nuclear family is part of white culture. The idiocy that I hear, this is why I said that Joy Reid and people like her, they use racist rhetoric to justify their idiotic ideas. But I digress. Let this man finish his thought, and then I'll move on to the next segment.
Polling places were straight. Black people would have an opportunity to vote for whom they choose, not whom they told to. And if the polling places aren't straight, they'll try to steal another election like they did in 2020.
But
so that's why I'm here.
What makes you believe that Republicans will keep their word any more than you believe the Democrats did not?
Well, no, let me answer that.
Some of us are elected.
No.
Black folks are elected.
Let me answer that for you. Let me answer that for you, okay? This is a simple fact right here. Of 60 years of Democrat rule, Black people need to change. We need to give the Republicans a chance to see what they can do because we have not done that. Had we done that, we wouldn't be in this condition. So that's why I'm here.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Agreed. That has been my argument since I started this channel. Has been my argument is the fact that Democrats know, like, end of the day, wait, like, think about it. Let's think about it logically. Let's say you went to go buy a car, and the car dealership knows that they're the only one with that car. They can set the terms. They have the leverage in that interaction, especially if they know you really want that car. They're not going to budge on price. And they'll say, you can go around, but you're going to come right back. That's how the Democrats feel entitled to the Black community vote. Because the Black community for the past 60 years have not shown, right, because it's habits, the Black community in 60 years have not shown their willingness to vote for the Republican Party. So Democrats like, oh, yeah, we got them on lock. Oh, yeah, they ain't going nowhere. Oh, yeah, we don't got to do nothing. That's the incentive that the Black community has been giving the Democratic Party. And when I bring this out, they don't want to listen. No one wants to listen. They want to call you a coon. They want to say you're a traitor to your race. When my argument is more pro-Black than any Democrat out here. If a Black Democrat and a Black conservative argue, Black conservatives win that argument every time, especially if it comes to the terms of pro-Blackness. Because my argument will always be, hey, look, his party has no incentive to change for you, Black community. You stay the same, they're guaranteed to get 90% of your vote. So what incentive does the Democrat have to change anything for you? None. At least I'm not saying, hey, I want all of you guys to vote 90% for the Republican Party, but I think there needs to be more political parity in our communities because you have blind spots, Black community. Your community that votes 90% for the Democratic Party, that means only 10% of your community can tell you the other side, the negatives of the policies that Democrats are pushing. Because the Democrats ain't gonna tell you the negative outcomes of their policy. I just gave you one about student loan forgiveness. Black women get the benefit off of student loan forgiveness, but then it contributes to inflation, which hurts the entire community. And then they're going to be the same ones complaining about resources, how it's hard to make ends meet on a single income, how hard it is to pay for gas, daycare, and all this stuff because of inflation, when the very thing they started cheering for contributed to inflation. Only a Republican has an incentive to point that out to you. But when you're a community that shuns your people who think differently from you politically, when you're a community that name calls the alternative perspectives in your community, you wonder why you got such a blind spot, and then they're gonna sit here and pretend that they, oh no, we're informed, Kenny, we're informed voters. Yeah, right. Hey man, I digress, man. Crazy world we living in.
I've done some.
Oh, sorry. So Mark Zuckerberg. So now we're gonna talk about Trump. Mark Zuckerberg has some commentary about Trump and how he felt emotional hearing about Trump and his experiences. And I kind of wanted to play this because I'm sure it's I don't know why I feel a lot optimistic about this election year. That I think a lot of people are showing an openness and willingness to give the Republican Party a shot, and I love it. So let's listen in on what Mark Zuckerberg has to say.
Stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time, and that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, I mean, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. I mean, the historic events over over the weekend, and I mean, on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, I mean, it's and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
Anything else? Yo, Democrat, bro. This is one of the reasons why I think this is why I said no smart person like Gavin Newsom is not going to be running in this election. Hell no. You got 4 months to campaign against Donald Trump, who finished just getting shot by a bullet and lived. People are making mythologies off him. Do I need to go back and show you the clips of the animators having him rap to Many Men? Japan, in honor of his survival, they made an anime about him. Like Trump has just become more iconic, right? Undecided voters are deciding that they're going to vote for Trump after his speech.
The grade you gave it?
I gave it an A.
And why'd you give it an A?
The thing I was looking for was a change, and I felt I heard that change in his voice. I was looking for his discussion on getting unity together in the country, as well as the border control and inflation.
The grade you gave it?
I gave it an
inflation, border. That's it. That's going to win the election in 2024. The inflation and border. We ain't playing, bruh. Majority of Americans support mass deportation. That inflation ain't no joke. But this is why I said, education is important. Self-education is important. This is why the mainstream media, right? Doing your own research can make fake news seem believable. They don't want you to go and do research for yourself, because if you do research for yourself, you may find out some unflattering truths or some unflattering things.
Tom, let me read a few
about their preferred political ideology. If you do your own research, you might find out the bad outcomes of Marxism, socialism, communism, how communism and socialism are actually the same thing at different degrees. Why socialism don't work. If you do your own research about it, and not let the mainstream media tell you what to think, like Joy Reid telling you that if you believe in the nuclear family, that you're white adjacent, the idiocy. Like traditional families didn't exist before Joy Reid came about. They always gotta label something. They always gotta label something. They always gotta label for something. This is why they fear you doing your own research. This is why they're so worried about online misinformation, disinformation, which all it only really means is ideas, concepts that is contrary to liberal thought. That's what disinformation, misinformation is. Most of these disinformation experts, which is a made up job in the first place, but let's go with it. Majority of them lean left. So to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like propaganda to me. If majority of your constituency is of one side, that sounds like propaganda to me. That's why journalism is so bad right now. Journalism is the most left-wing profession in America. Dominated by majority, politically dominated by the left, politically dominated by Democrats. This is why Bernie Sanders, right? I'm gonna play a clip here. This is why Bernie Sanders felt so comfortable telling the mainstream media, hey, you guys got to cover us better. You got to start focusing on Biden's accomplishments, right? Because if the mainstream media was calling it down the middle, if the mainstream media was truly objective, there's no way a congressman from any political party will feel comfortable telling the mainstream media how they should go about covering their candidate. Let's watch.
Given the growing calls and whispers, loud whispers from very big names in Democratic circles, isn't that causing a lot of destruction on the Democratic side?
Yeah, look.
And opening the door for Donald Trump? I mean, is Joe Biden, we know he's fit for the presidency. Is he fit to run, or should he step aside?
Well,
are you
I got to
thinking
say
about it at all?
something. If I may, in all due respect to my friends in the media, we might want to concentrate on what President Biden has accomplished, which is probably the strongest record for working families in the modern history of this country.
Lie. How is it doing actions and behaviors? Look, this is my argument here. The outcomes, the facts of the outcome, it doesn't help people. How is this the strongest record for working families? How is inflation the strongest record for working families? Let me know that. Let me know that in the comment section. How does that work? How'd that work? Inflation didn't start becoming a big problem until Joe Biden stepped foot into Oval Office. 2021. Since 2021, it's been hard to be a working class family right now. And he went a lie, bold-faced lie, try to sell a narrative over his actions. Ridiculous. That's as a journalist, I would have pushed back on him. I said, how can you say that when inflation is up 27%? A lot of people are struggling in this economy. Majority of Americans believe that this isn't a strong economy. But look at him, confident. Oh, yeah. Because they believe they have credibility because they're a Democrat.
And then we might want to talk about why people should vote for him and why, in my view, if he runs, he is going to be reelected. He has an agenda, we don't talk about it in the media much, that speaks to the needs of working families who have been ignored for decades. So when I go out and I tell people that President Biden wants to expand Social Security by asking the wealthy to start paying their fair share of taxes so we can increase benefits.
My biggest problem with politics, especially with these people here, is that throughout history, America used to have a 90% tax rate. Yes, you heard that right. America used to have a 90% tax rate. Look how bad the economy was with a 90% tax rate. Taxing the rich is not going to help your situation, right? It's not. It may sound desirable, but it's not feasible. Because when tried, none of the outcomes that it claimed to improve actually improve. All you're going to do is incentivize the rich to hold on to their money. They're not going to be wanting to spend their money. They're not going to be wanting to hire people. Because at the end of the day, you'll be a cost. And if they take 90% of their money, 40% of their money, 60% of their money, you're creating an incentive where the rich does not want to contribute to your economy. And you're going to slow the economy down. This is one of the arguments for why a lot of conservative economists says that FDR actually, through his actions and through his policies, extended the Great Depression. It's only going to make things worse. But this is the problem with politicians, especially with Democrat politicians. They think government intervention is actually the solution, when in reality, government intervention is a big source of the problem because they think they know best. People who have people who don't understand business, they don't understand resource allocation. Look at the government. Government manages, I don't know how many trillions of dollars, and look how they overspend every single time. They don't know how to manage their resources, yet they're going to tell you, hey, yeah, we need more money. You mean you need more money to throw into a fire? The Democrats, through Jimmy Carter, created the Department of Education. Before the Department of Education was created, America had the #1 education in the world. After the Department of Education was created, the America's education system became 24th in the world. That's the reality of most cases when the government gets involved into something. It makes it inefficient, it makes it ineffective, and it makes it worse. This is one of the arguments for why many people are in favor of privatizing stuff. That's one of the arguments I make for, hey, I may not want to eliminate Social Security, but I want to reform Social Security because as it stands right now, it's not sustainable. Essentially, all you're really doing is you letting the government take taxes from you and manage your retirement fund. And last time I checked, anything the government gets involved in, and this is a wisdom. Wisdom are things that are unchangeable. Understanding unchangeable realities. The unchangeable reality that there's only two genders. The unchangeable reality is that socialism doesn't work. The unchangeable reality that humans are flawed creatures. Therefore, if you give flawed creatures absolute power, that's what socialism does, because socialism requires centralized power, these flawed human beings will use and abuse it. This is one of the arguments for separations of power in our government. Our government is not made to be a socialist country. But you got this guy here who thinks he's here to help. But when in reality, he's making things worse. Making the government come in and solve your private problems like healthcare, daycare, making a living for yourself, it's like asking a mechanic to do surgery on you. He may be able to improvise. He might have a good chance of doing it. Lucky chance he might get it right. But for the most part, he'll F things up. And that's what the government is. The government is not meant to handle private problems. It's only meant to create an incentive structure to empower yourself, not make you dependent on the government. Because if you become dependent on the government will use and abuse that power. All I have to do is look at the UK. Look at the UK with their national health care. I always bring up this story because this story articulates the reality of free healthcare. Free healthcare means the government has authority over your healthcare, have authority over you. The story I'm about to tell you is that there was a couple, their kid was on life support, and they wanted to keep the kid alive. The government saw it and said, hey, look, this kid's been on this thing for 3 months. He's taking resources for someone who has a higher probability of survival. We want to take him out. We're going to take him off the life support. The parents fought to keep that child alive. Hey, they had an Italy. Italy said, yo, we're going to make him a citizen in our country and we'll take him. And they had to fight in court to allow their child to be transferred to another hospital in Italy. Guess what happened? Before the court proceeding even finished, before the court was even able to make a decision, the government already cut the child off of life support and he ended up dying. Devastating to the parents. That's the trade-off you make with free healthcare. You give up control over your healthcare. So if the government sees it as, hey, look, there's not a good chance you're going to survive this, so we're going to just unplug you. You can't. You have no room to raise a fit with them because they pay for it. He who has the responsibility is the one with the authority. And this is what the do for self message that me as a conservative, I believe in. Because if you don't do for yourself and if someone has to do for you, then that person is also have authority over you. And that's the reality with free government benefits. It's the same thing with welfare. If any day the government makes a requirement of you to maintain your benefits, you are incentivized and forced to do it. This is one of the core conservative arguments against government subsidies, government social programs, especially when the government does it, because the government only interest is expanding its power. That's the negative. That's the assumptions you must have. Government will find any reason to justify why it should gain more power. And most of the way it angles it is, I'm here to help you. I'm here to save you. It's not like the movies. When tyrants want to get in power, they don't talk to you and say openly like how the Democrats like to portray Trump. They don't tell you in your face. They tell you, I'm here to help. That's how tyrants get power. I'm here to help. I'm here to help with your circumstances. Because once they're responsible for helping you, they know they have authority over you. Look at Hitler. All you gotta do is look at Hitler. Hitler made all promises. Oh, I'm gonna abolish businesses. These effing guys taking us out. The reason why Hitler hated Jewish people so much is because he saw them as the very embodiment of capitalism. Because Jewish people, they did well. They worked in banks. They were doctors. They had their own businesses. And he was like, yo, these people are getting rich off of the Germans. The same way that black people like to point out white people and say, oh, it's a system that's benefiting you. White supremacy. Marxist ideals. I mean, I digress. I went on a long rant. So let's finish off this clip with Bernie.
By $2,400 a year, people say, that's great. And when I say President Biden wants to expand Medicare so that we can cover dental, hearing, and vision.
With what money? This is why they need to tax the rich, because they're asking for more and more stuff that requires more and more resources that they don't have. And where they're going to pull the money from? If they have to continue printing more money, that's more inflation. This is why there's such an incentive from the Democratic Party to tax the rich. This is why I said government's ineffective at creating good solutions for the general public. Only you know your situation. This is why privatization works better than nationalization. I digress.
I know the media, these guys make a lot of money, not much interest in that. But if you're a senior who can't afford to go to a dentist, that means a lot. And if you have cancer, or have had cancer treatment, and you went bankrupt or you lost your home because of the outrageous cost, President Biden wants to end all medical debt in this country. He has a massive housing program which will deal with the crisis that exists all over this country. He understands that in the midst of massive income and wealth inequality, maybe it's time for the billionaire class to start paying their fair share of taxes. And by the way,
what is that? Like, this is my problem with these progressives. They make no damn sense. The rich pay majority of the taxes here. If the rich leave the entire, if I snap my fingers, I say all the American millionaires, billionaires, people who pay the most in taxes, if I clip them like this, it's going to be the top 20% of taxpayers. It will destroy this entire country because there's nothing to sustain they don't have enough revenue to sustain all these social spending that we're doing right now in this country. This is why social entitlements are bad ideas generally. Your government can support few social entitlements, but you can't. It's not a sweepstakes where, okay, we got public housing, we got welfare, we got WIC. Now we want to add daycare expenses. Like, yo, no, that's more government spending that we don't have money for. And then, God forbid, conservatives say, "Hey, look, we might have to trim some of the services." Everyone's in an uproar. This is why we need wisdom more than ever in our country. Wisdom tells you that the human desire is unlimited. We always want what we want. Me and you, we probably want a Lamborghini. We want a fancy house worth $20 million. But what our bank account says, your money's finite. You have a finite amount of money. And this is the government's biggest problem. They don't want to understand they have a finite amount of money. And when they go over that finite amount of money, no matter how big that finite amount of money is, it's going to hit a ceiling. And then they want to pull out debt, put us in debt, right? We got $34 trillion in debt. How do you think we got there? Social entitlements, the government pretending that it can do everything for you, because then the government's just trying to justify why it should get bigger and bigger. Kenny, how do you feel about gropers crapping on Vance's wife being Indian? I think it's stupid. I'm sidetracking, but the Gophers, I think they're too tied up on identity politics, because in a way that's identity politics. Oh, white nationalism, white this, white people, European white people created this country and all this stuff. Sure. But let's play a different scenario. What if, because end of the day, the only reason America became America is because it came from British culture, right? British culture, it has certain precepts, a certain intellectual foundation that the American colonists was able to build upon, right? They knew about Greece, they knew about French, they knew about socialism, all this because of Britain. And they learned from Britain, and that's how they created America, right? So my thing is, it's not because of the fact that you're European or whatever. It's because you're from a certain place. Is what sets America off to its course. It's not tied with your skin color. Because to me, behavior, your skin color doesn't decide behavior, right? I talk about this all the time when black people come in here and they say, "Oh, we fell behind schools." It's not because of racism. Asian kids spend what, 2 hours a day more on homework than any group of people, other races of kids. Is it any surprise they perform well academically? So this focus on skin color, bro, it's superficial. What about their values? What they believe in? What about their principles? Is it aligned with you? That decides more of your allegiance than your skin color, right? And that's why I say I believe in like colorblind nationalism, not this. Oh, it's based on an because that's ethno nationalism. I don't believe in that. I believe that's superficial. I believe what ties you together is your loyalty to a country, your common interest in a country. We all want America to be the best country ever, right? Because then we get to have the opportunities, all the riches, the wealth. It stays here. That's the common interest we all share. Because if America goes bye-bye, all of us got to go find a new place to live. All of us about to become immigrants. So all of us have a common interest to preserve and continuing making America a prosperous nation. But when you put skin color into it, you're just trying to divide. You're doing divide and conquer all over again. I don't take them as a serious movement for the most part. But this is just based on me looking from the outside. I don't know much about him. I haven't seen much of these Gopher people. I know that's the group Nick Fuentes is part of. So I don't know much about him. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know much about Nick Fuentes. All I heard is that he's a pro-white person, right? And I'm not offended by that, because at the end of the day, I know people who are pro-black, and if one race of people is allowed to be proud about their skin color and believe that they should only marry black women, black men should only be with black women, then I can't be mad at a guy that says white people need to be with white women. Like, you get me? It makes no damn sense, especially when I come from a community that's known to push a pro-racial narrative. Oh, black history, right? Black power, put black in front of everything. But God forbid a white person do the same thing. Now everyone's crying. I never believed in that. I believe in consistency, right? So that's just my thoughts on the Gophers. I know I went on a long tangent there, but final video, I think it's going to be my final clip, but it depends how I'm feeling. But I got 8 minutes to go. I want to talk about progressivism, how progressivism created Hitler and genocide, because for the longest time, I've been hearing people equate Trump to Hitler. And this is one of the reasons why I say self-education is the best education, because when you're intellectually curious, I believe you're unstoppable, right? Mainstream media ain't going to put Thomas Sowell on. You think Joy Reid going to put on Thomas Sowell and try to debate Thomas Sowell? Oh, heavens no. This man will cook her without even trying. Man's like 96 years old. He's sharper than Biden. That's crazy. If only more people were taught about Thomas Sowell, I think realistically would have been a better country. That's just how I personally feel. I think would have been a better educated country, would have been a wiser country, right? Because when Gavin Newsom comes up and he starts spewing stuff about when Joe Biden comes out here and he starts spewing stuff like, oh, I'm going to do rent control, all of us are going to be like, yo, we know the arguments for rent. Look, Thomas Sowell says rent control doesn't work because it creates an incentive structure where the landlords will not be incentivized to take care of their property because it'll require more cost than what they're actually getting out of the property. Common sense. Like, if I told you to keep a service, you have to pay $80 a month, but you're not getting your money's worth off of it. You're not gonna be incentivized to continue paying for the service. But imagine the government put a gun to your head, aka force you. Nah, you're required to pay for this service. You're gonna be like, I'm gonna do as much as I can not to put any money towards this product. I don't care if it breaks down, because they're forcing me to pay anyway. And if you don't believe me, look at welfare. Not welfare. Look at Section 8 housing. those houses are essentially free, or they only got to pay like $69 a month for rent. They're usually not taken care of in the best condition because the inhabitants are not paying out of their pocket. Someone else is paying for it. So that means the bill's on someone else's dime. So people feel in liberty not to take care of something that they don't personally own. This is why they say free is not respected. This is the problem with Canada when we're free healthcare, is because people are willing to go to that easy route, but then it overfloods the system. It overburdens the system where it takes you 3 months to go have a doctor see your broken arm because they're so booked so far in advance because so many people are trying to get help because no one wants to pay for healthcare. The easiest thing to do is go for free, right? But when you pay for it, you get quality. Because end of the day, and here's another piece of wisdom that Thomas Sowell has taught me through his reading of his books. It's kind of in human nature to do the most easiest thing, the most convenient thing in our time. So, for instance, school education is a big point of my channel, right? Why does majority of kids go to public school? 76% of our American students go to public school because it's free. It's easy, right? It's more convenient for us to just put our kids in public school, even though we know they're not getting quite as good as their education. We find justification. Oh no, like it's a decent school, it's an A school, it's a B school, right? This is why they do all this little metric stuff instead of putting the money for private school, because we know, damn, that's gonna hurt. Damn, I won't be able to buy fancy clothes or buy this new TV because I have to make sacrifices on our budget to pay for my son's education, but I know that he's going to have a higher quality education. He's going to be around higher quality people, higher quality families that might open up networks, right? Because wealthy families tend to go to private school. Because if rich people didn't think it was worth it, private school would never be a thing. So there is some benefit to private school, but you find reasons to justify, hey, no, we're going to go with the more convenient options. Your kid can't focus in school because the public school kids are just like some of the public school kids from not so good neighborhoods are disrupting the class, making it hard for your kid to learn. While in the private school, if that same level of disruption happened, that kid will be liable to get kicked out. There's consequences for their actions, right? But we don't put all this calculation in when we make a decision, right? And the government knows this. Progressives know this. This is why they want everything free. Because you're going to hear that and you find it desirable, but then in the long term, you pay for it. But, I digress. Let's get into Thomas Sowell, why progressivism create genocide and Hitlers. Let's take a look.
Single sentences from social justice fallacies. I'll read a sentence. You tell us what you meant. Stupid people can create problems, but it often takes brilliant people to create a real catastrophe.
That is so, my gosh. Think of the catastrophes of the 20th century. You mentioned the genetic determinants. They drew the conclusion from their reasoning that you had to put an end to certain races because they had what they called eugenics, but what was later called genocide. And so that idea originated with the progressives. And there was a progressive who wrote a book with that theme, which was translated into German, and Hitler called it his Bible. And so the
idea of a superior race has always been part of progressivism. This is the truth that progressivists don't like to tell you about. Racism is a progressive ideology. Identity politics is a branch of racism. Like that's why I find it so baffling when you hear the language that the left use against white people, right? And I'm like, yo, that's the same language you use against black people back in the day. There was a man called George Fitzhugh. I always mention him. He's labeled the honest socialist, of how he equated that slavery is actually a desirable trait in society because slavery is actually socialism. The slave has the better end of the deal because he doesn't have to worry about his health care because the master is supposed to be taking care of him. If he gets hurt, the master has to take care of him. The master provides food for him, and all the slave has to do is work, and the master controls the fruits of that labor and divides it amongst the whole plantation. A socialist made that argument about the correlations between slavery and socialism, and socialists have the goal to try to debate me in the comment section about slavery. When I say that no self-thinking, no critical black man will ever support socialism, it's because socialism is essentially slavery. Black people had a taste of socialism already. They didn't get the benefit of their own labor. Their labor was meant to help everyone else at their expense. So even if you work harder, you're still going to get fed the same amount of food as the other slave that is barely raking any leaves. You work at other people's benefit. That's slavery. That's what socialism demands of you. Bernie Sanders want to tax the rich 90% of their income, 60% of their income, 50% of their income, which they're already paying now. Imagine someone taking half of what you make. I don't care how much their salary is. I don't care how rich they are. They're making a subjective view of, hey, you're making too much money. For some people, too much money is $100K a year. For some people, making too much money is $250,000 a year. For some people, making too much money is $1 million a year. But who are you to determine that? If my capacity, if my skills, if I am valued at a wage that commands that salary, who are you to dictate how much of that I get to keep? Doesn't that sound like slavery to you? Oh, slave, you done picking the cotton? Yeah, I can I make some clothes? I'm the one who pick it. You're not compensating for me. No. Give me it. So the master can do whatever he wants with it. He gets to command how it gets distributed. That's the government. A1 analogy, I know, right? But that's what identity politics is. It's racism. That's what it is. This idea that, oh, I'm entitled to your vote because you're a black man. Isn't that rooted in racism? Right? I have to put black conservative as a hashtag on my videos because if someone see a black face on a political video, they're automatically going to assume I'm a Democrat. And then when they hear me start talking and I'm bashing or I'm arguing or I'm stating a contrarian stance to what is stated in a liberal video, whatever, or I agree with conservative ideals, they'll hate comment on my thing, calling me a coon. Craziness, right? But that's rooted in racism. Just like if I saw you as an inferior person because of your skin color. If I saw a black dude and I said, look at that guy. Like liberals. Oh, y'all think I'm lying? Liberals, if you look at the stats, liberals dumb down their language when speaking to black people. Racism. It's still in this progressive idea of that black people are from inferior stock. Woodrow Wilson, a progressive president, right? He federalized segregation. He believed in this stuff. That people of a certain race, Italians, Irish people, they were like the lesser tier of white people. He believed his race was the superior race. This is why a lot of people say that America inspired Hitler. But in reality, Hitler was inspired by progressives, left-wing thinkers. Craziness, right? Segregation in the South, Democratic strongholds. Democrats was in charge of that. Democrats was a source of racism in America. When people used to say, America's a racist country, America was a racist country. No. Not all of America was complicit in racism. There were 7 free states that had no slavery whatsoever. So how can you blame all of America for slavery when only half of the Americans actually contributed into slavery? But you like typical Democrats, they love to spread the blame around. The same way with Joe Biden. He doesn't want to take his part in how his rhetoric contributed to political violence or political hatred. So he tries to spread the blame around. And then Democrats and liberals have the goal to get mad at me for calling it out, for pointing it out, for noticing. Throughout human history, from my perspective, from the research that I've done, all the most negative outcomes, I was always able to trace it back to some way, somehow being dealt by a Democrat. Democratic policy, a Democrat belief, right? There was some progressive Republicans, I agree. But it's still that ideology. Progressivism is the problem, not the solution. And making America more progressive is actually regressing America as a whole. That's my argument. Because look at us. We're talking about black-only spaces. We're bringing back segregation. Imagine that. But that's a progressive ideology, right? That's wokeism, right? If you say that you don't see someone, you don't base You don't take someone's race into account of what they do. Progressives today will call you a racist. If you criticize somebody without tying in their race, they won't say, "Oh, you're erasing my blackness, and therefore you're racist." That's how they label conservatives racist. Imagine that. We're going backwards as a country. The more progressive we have become. That's the argument I'm standing on. Let's continue.
Holocaust.
You draw a line from the progressive eugenicists to Adolf Hitler.
He drew the line. He drew the line and wrote a fan mail letter to the author of that book, and saying that book was his Bible. And we see what that led to. During the 1920s, in reaction to World War I, which was so bad, the idea arose among the intellectual elites that the way to prevent war was to stop arming. You see, so disarmament was the way to avoid a war. No evidence made the slightest impression on them, and they blundered the West into a war that probably would never have happened, because the totalitarian dictatorships that started that war were well aware that the United States, Britain, and France had an industrial capacity greater than theirs. And you wouldn't ordinarily attack countries that have greater industrial capacity than yours unless you thought that they were gutless and were foolish enough not to remain armed. And for 3 years of that war, the Axis powers won every single battle. The Western democracies lost in Europe and Asia, wherever they fought.
That's a good point about the disarmament too. And the left still practices this today. Oh yeah, we should ban guns now that Trump got shot at. No, because we believe in personal responsibility. The shooter's at fault, not the gun. The gun doesn't have magic where you touch it, you get possessed, and you become a raging mass shooter. No, that's not how guns work, right? But the left keep pushing this point. Don't know why, because a part of me think they want you to disarm yourself. Because now when they have the leverage in the situation, aka, oh, we have the rule over you, they'll do us like they're doing to Europe right now in the UK. They'll show up at your house, they'll pull up on your house talking about, hey, you made a negative tweet on social media, and now we gotta look into you and investigate you. This is what they're trying to do here. Progressives just want power over you. They want the ability to coerce you into doing what they want you to do. And people still don't want to believe me when I say socialism is slavery. If you don't agree with the status quo, with the mainstream ideology, which is wokeism right now, wokeism is trying to be the mainstream ideology. And if you disagree, you say men can't be women. Oh, we're going to take away his health care because there's no private options in socialism. We're going to take away his health care, his food stamps, public housing. We'll take everything from you. Cheeseworks says, hey, Kenny, fantastic work lately. Appreciate it, Cheeseworks. I appreciate the comment, right? This is some insanity we're dealing with right here. Oh, progressivism is regressive. We're going backwards. Because the point of being armed is to be a deterrent for a tyrannical government. But if a government, like imagine this, if a government is not scared or doesn't fear or knows you don't have no capacity to threaten it, because imagine we got 400 million people in the United States of America. There's more guns in this country than people. You think if the government wants to pull some dictatorship right now, you don't think they'll be fearful? I don't care how many military men they have. We outnumbered them. So that's a check on their power. That's a check on them not to overstep their bounds. It has a practical use. The Second Amendment has a practical use. Because in our Constitution, right? And this is the problem why self-education is the best education. Because you're not going to get taught this in school. The point is that with the Second Amendment, the whole point is to defend your right to consent, right? My body, my choice. Okay. The consent of the governed, the government must have the consent of the governed. Therefore, if we decide, hey, this government here, no, we don't recognize your authority. And the government goes, oh, yes, you will. U.S. Army, military, let's go. Everyone's strapping and say, play with us. It's 300 million people, and there's only like 10,000 of you guys in the government. What you gonna do with us? Say something, right? Well, how the black folks saying in my community? We stand on business. Is that you feeling froggy, government? Jump. That's the point of the Second Amendment. And no country is dumb enough to bomb its own citizens because you're only hurting yourself. That's like punching yourself in the face. And then other governments are going to see that as an opportunity to attack the U.S. Oh, look at these government officials. They can't get their people under control. Let's attack them now. But in the education system, if they continue conditioning you, telling you, oh no, Second Amendment, it gives clause for the government to regulate it. All it takes is enough people to believe that narrative, and then they're going to vote along to give up their rights. You see the trick here? This is why I said education is very important. And this is one of the reasons why these people do not want you to do your own research. Cheeseworks asked, Kenny, were you ever a Democrat? No, I was never a Democrat. How you turn conservative? Okay, so backstory time. White adjacent. Joy Reid might have wanted to check her hair in the middle of that comment. Exactly, right? Bro, that's something I never understood. Some of the people that be the biggest pro-blacks, I'd be like, yo, you got blonde hair. You're wearing weave. Like what you doing here? Like, what you doing? What you doing? Okay, back to the story. So I was never a Democrat, right? So my mom, when I turned 18, I think I told this story before, but I'm gonna tell it again on this channel. She tried to get me to sign. She tried to make me bubble in Democrat, and I was like, nah, I ain't bubbling Democrat. And my mom was like, you black. Democrats are for the black people. You know, my mom's a Haitian immigrant, so she's like, you're supposed to put for black people. The Democrats are for black people. I'm like, no. I said, I don't know that. I don't know. So what? I said, I don't know their policies. I don't know what they stand for. I put independent, like being like I was a rebellious kid as a teenager, so I didn't do what I was told. So I was like, nah, I ain't putting Democrat. So I bubbled in independent. So I'm still non-party affiliated to this day. And how did I turn conservative? I think it was around 2016 when Donald Trump was running. And backstory, my dad's actually a Republican. My dad was a Republican. My dad voted for Bush twice. My dad voted for Obama once, 2008, because what made my dad vote for Obama, and I remember he told me this, is when Obama came out and he said, hey, the American people, if I lose, it's not because I'm black, it's because I wasn't able to articulate a vision that the American people can get behind. And my dad said, that man won my vote. That's what made my Republican dad vote for Obama 2008. Then after his first term, my dad did not like Obama because my dad was like, oh yeah, you know, I thought I could trust them. Democrats, they're nothing but talk. That's my dad. I was going to do it in his Haitian voice, but my throat hurts. Yeah, Democrats, they ain't nothing but talk. Nothing but talk. That's what my dad said. So I remember in the car, my dad said, look, we have a chance to make history. This is a good Democrat. Because my dad thought Obama, 2008 Obama, was the second coming of JFK, Black Edition. So my dad was like, okay, I can give him a chance. I'm gonna give him a shot. He says all the right things, and then, you know, he didn't do all the right things. So my dad got disillusioned with Democrats altogether, and he said he'll never vote Democrat ever again. And that's when he told me, and this is how I turned conservative. This is how I turned conservative. My father told me, hey, Kenny, don't let anyone dictate to you what you should and shouldn't do. He said, end of the day, if it ain't in your interest to do it, then don't follow it. If someone try to tell you, don't let your skin color don't let someone use your skin color as a reason to vote Democrat. And I think a part of it was, this is 2008. I don't think it was popular for a black man, especially a black immigrant, to be a Republican. So I guess, I don't know. I feel like some ways my dad was kind of telling himself that too, using me. So very young, as I can tell you, very young. I think I was like 12 when my dad told me that. No, I was 13 years old. So very young, my dad kind of, made me a centrist, right? I would say I was a centrist. Like I was a neutral centrist when I went to college. So 2016, I was in college, second year in college. And no, my first year in college, sorry. And Donald Trump was running for president. And all the hysteria around Donald Trump, I found that puzzling. I'm like, why I don't like this man so much? Like, I used to watch Home Alone. Bro, I grew up on Home Alone. That was the ish when I was growing up. So I'm like, yo, this man used to be on Home Alone. I listen to rappers always talking about they want to be rich like Trump. Like, what's going on? Man, put an R next to his name. Now y'all all mad at him. What the hell's going on? This is what pushed me off Democrats, because I remember I used to debate people in college, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, Trump's a racist." I said, "What he said that was racist?" Couldn't give me an answer. Oh, he said all Mexicans were rapists and all this stuff. I said, "You sure he said that?" Or he's saying that they're bringing criminals. Criminals could, and they're coming over the border. Back then, I wasn't too informed in politics, but one thing I did know is the hysteria around Trump was strange to me. That's the one thing I remembered when I was like kind of disillusioned with politics. So 2016, I did not vote. I know I didn't vote 2016 at all. I didn't vote for either candidate. I didn't vote. I just know when I woke up that morning, fond memories. When I woke up that morning, 2016, I was laughing. I was laughing. Because I remember this conversation with some liberal woman, I forgot who in college. And she said, I can't understand why people voting for Trump. Why would they want to vote for a guy like that? My centrist butt, I was like, well, people are probably just tired of politicians saying one thing and doing another, right? I said they find his brass, rude commentary probably more authentic and honest, and that's probably what is gravitating them to Trump. And the liberal lady looked at me. She's like, you make some good points. I can see your point. I can see why people would be disillusioned with politics and all this. And that's exactly what happened. I was like, oh shoot. Are you big into philosophy with Socrates behind you? Yes, I am. I'm pretty big in. I'm so big in philosophy that when I read bedtime stories to my son, it's a book by Ryan Holiday, The Boy Who Would Be King, which is pretty much a kid's story about Marcus Aurelius. My favorite quote in philosophy is, "You have power over your own mind, not outside events. Notice, and you have strength." Pretty much English. I can't control what happens to me, but I can control how I respond. That's the philosophy that I tend to believe in. I have other ones, like there's other thinkers that I like to listen to. Forgot his name, Richard Feynman. Feynman, I think I know it said. So if reality shows you your theory is wrong, you must accept that your theory is wrong, which always keeps me intellectually humble. And this is why I like Thomas Sowell so much, because he's like, yo, you have a theory. Where's the empirical evidence to support your theory? If your political theory is every time I see it in reality and it fails, socialism, communism, centralized government, then you must accept that your theory is wrong and it doesn't work. But that's what leftists don't do. You're a father? Nice, man. I didn't know that. Yeah, I am. Of 2 boys. One is, damn, I'm forgetting the age. I feel old. 3, and the youngest is 1. Right. So where were we? Before I finish telling you my whole life story, guys. Hey, look, this is a live stream. I'm glad I got to communicate with a lot of you guys. I'm glad a lot of you guys found some interest in my ramblings about my life. But yeah, long story short, so after Trump won, I remember I came back and this was a black girl. I laughed. I found it funny that Trump won. And certain black women didn't like the fact that I was laughing about Trump winning. And she said, he going to deport all of us. I said, relax. He's not going to deport any of us, all right? He's not going to deport you. If you're an American citizen, you're fine. He's not going to deport you, whatever. And she just got so mad that she hit me. I was like, what? I said, ain't no way she just hit me. That's when I got my first taste of Trump derangement syndrome, right? So since then, I was just like doing research. I forgot who was the first person I ran into. I watched videos, the walkaway movement with Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens, and then through Candace Owens, I found Larry Elder, and then through Larry Elder, I found out about this guy, Thomas Sowell. After watching, I remember I binge watched a bunch of Thomas Sowell's clips, and who else? There was another guy that grew up with Thomas Sowell as well. I forgot his name, but yeah, that's how I became conservative. I agree with this, I agree with that, I agree with this. Ben Shapiro, when he did a video, maybe I'll do that as a video. The clips that made me a conservative, right? Ben Shapiro had a video where he was debating against like 2 black people, and he was saying that racism wasn't the biggest issue stopping black people, it was their behavior, and they started laughing. And then Ben Shapiro looked at him and he said, okay, then explain to me why. And then he started hammering out points. And I was like, damn. I said, they ain't got the answer. I said, they ain't got the answer, Sway. And those videos kind of helped me become conservative too. So a compilation of Ben Shapiro videos, Thomas Sowell's, but I think it was the Larry Elder videos that really hit home for me, because a lot of things that I was dealing with personally, especially when I would make good arguments for conservatism or republicanism, or I'll push back on the idea that black people can only vote Democrat. I used to get labeled the same names as Larry Elder and all this stuff, and I was like, yo, yeah, I found that funny. And then I think the most impressionable video that I believe contributed to me becoming conservative was when he debated what's his name? I forgot his name. I forgot who I forgot who Larry Elder debated a lot of people, but if I can remember, I think it was Dave Rubin when he was still kind of like a liberal, and he was like, "Yeah, tell me how racism is stopping me." That video made me conservative for sure. All right, that would be a cool video. I'll write that down. The clips that made me conservative. I'll have to go and find it, but I'm pretty sure I'll find those clips. Made me conservative. I wrote that down. So I'm gonna wrap up this live stream. So let's hear Thomas Sowell drop one more bar for us for the last minute, and then I'll wrap up with my final thoughts.
In 1942, Winston Churchill made a speech, and he said, we have a new experience. We have victory. And when they won that victory in El Alamein in northern Africa, that was the first battle won by the Western democracies in a war that was already 3 years old. And from that point on, especially when the United States came in and the American productive capacity was mobilized, then it turned around. Today, people who are trying to say we need to disarm in order to have peace don't understand in a nuclear age, you're not going to get 3 years to figure out what's going on. You're either going to be ready on the first day of that war, or you're going to lose it.
Yep. Makes sense. Like, you see, like, that's why I say Thomas, like, if you're really trying to have an education system, Thomas Sowell has to be required reading, man. Like, it's the injustice what they've done to this man. Like, the fact that he's not as well known as he is, and I think that's why he's so prominent. That's why he's so popular online. I haven't done a Thomas Sowell video in a long time because I've been focusing a lot on news, but I should do some more of those, because he has a lot of great things to say, especially with our education system. Bro, there are many great black speakers. There were many great black speakers at the RNC. Yeah, I think I saw two. I didn't watch the first day. A lot of them spoke on the first day, if I remember correctly. But I did catch the lady from New York whose son died, who got killed. Yeah, Thomas Sowell. Like, I did some, like, if you want to check me out, Cheeseworks. I have some videos on Thomas Sowell. I think I have a whole playlist actually. It's mostly Black America. Like, it's a playlist. Like, if you go, let's see, because I'm winding down anyway, so I could take the time to, have some dead air, so it won't kill us. But what was my favorite one? Thomas Sowell books are pretty good too. Like his social justice one, Third Day, had 2 black congressmen. Yeah. But the black ones that I saw was the 2 black women, which is Amber Rose, who's like a mixed race girl, and the lady who lost her son to crime in New York, right? Thomas Sowell, I think one of Thomas Sowell's best videos is when he was debating the welfare lady. And everything Thomas Sowell said on that video about, yeah, you don't have to approve of single motherhood, you just have to incentivize it. And then 40, 60 years later, black community, 70% single moms. Like, it's like this man was like a prophet, right? And if you have an X account, follow me on X. I tend to also retweet like Thomas Sowell quotes as well, because this man, bro, I'm gonna cry when that man passes on. But I think reading his material is a lot better than just watching him, right? Like, for example, here, the whole political vision of the left. Because the reason why I became a conservative is naturally I like things that I could observe and prove, right? If you can't prove to me something, like, let's say, hey, I'm the best basketball player here, I say, okay, How I grew up, look, I grew up in the hood. How I grew up, if you talk, you better be able to back it up. That's empirical. That's imperialist. That's imperialism. Empiricism. Sorry. So you got to prove to me, okay, you read that good. Okay, let's see how you let's see if you can hang. Would you ever debate anyone on YouTube? My platform ain't big enough to debate anyone really. I mean, I try to get collabs, but I'm just not big enough yet. So no one wants to give me the time of day. So I got a slow grind right now. But I see it as a good thing, you know? It's not how well. It's not. How you say it? I forgot. Socrates. We're often more afraid than hurt. Right. So I'm like, I'll take this in stride. Like, hey, the obstacle is the way. So I see this as my training arc. So right now, I'm just trying to build my content, trying to build a portfolio of videos. So eventually, I can get the following that I need to actually start collaborating with people. So until then, it's only gonna be me unless I get lucky or I go network. I was supposed to network this year. Like I was planning to attend some political conferences, but I couldn't find the time. Between two kids, my wife, I was like, nah, I don't have time for that. And work, whew, I don't have time for that. So I know I said I was gonna close this early, but a part of me, I'm feeling the flow right now. So I want to end off this video with Charlie Kirk shutting down like arrogant college students because honestly, I believe that a lot of the woke crap we're dealing with, the assumptions that socialism is as popular as capitalism in 2024 is shocking to me. Climate change and all this stuff, it's all coming from academia. Academia, if you already know, there's a 12-to-1 ratio that favors liberals. For every one conservative teacher you have, there's 12 liberal professors to outnumber him. So a lot of the college students in their arrogance, this is my argument, and also this is my argument for the black community and why they vote heavily for the Democratic Party is because they're only hearing one side of the argument. They don't hear it or they're not exposed to contrarian thoughts. And that's why a part of me, if you made me king for one day of America, I would destroy the Department of Education right now. And I'll make it a requirement that if you give out histrionics, that you must use two sources from alternative views to educate the class, because I believe people learn more through discussions, through the back and forth between the two opposing sides, and people have a more holistic vision and a holistic vision, or sorry, a holistic view of what a topic is, right? Minimum wage. I could debate minimum wage every day of the week because minimum wage makes no damn sense. How are you gonna force? How are you gonna force someone to pay someone a certain amount of money when they're not even bringing in that much money to justify it in the first place? If you make minimum wage $50 an hour, and you flipping burgers, you losing your job because your job is not bringing in something to justify you paying $50 per hour you're working. The ridiculousness. But this is what happens when you let government dictate rules. They don't quite understand how things work because the government don't produce anything. The government are managers. The government are, in my view, referees. If the ref is here calling the game, putting his thumb on the scale on the game, you're gonna be like, yo, the officiating, this is bonkers, bro. You're not gonna enjoy the game. The player's not gonna enjoy the game. The player's gonna feel like, yo, this game is unfair because the ref happens to like the Lakers and he's not giving us any calls. And if you even breathe on LeBron, it's a fragrant foul. That's what the government's doing by saying, oh, look at the disproportional outcomes. There's income inequality. That's like the government getting mad about income inequality is like me getting mad that LeBron James averages 25 points a game while the guy on the bench doesn't get equal playing time and he's only scoring 2 points a game. I said that's unfair. You got that man riding the bench. He's just as capable as LeBron. He just needs more opportunities. I know. A1 analogies. I know. This is why I say sports is the most purest form of how I want the world to be. The government's a referee. He's just there to enforce the rules and regulate the game. What you do within the game, that's your business. If you choose to pass it to the worst three-point shooter in your team and he keeps jacking up threes, it's your own damn fault for passing the ball to him, all right? That's the kind of economy I see. Shit sounds good, but it doesn't work. Exactly, Kevin. Because end of the day, people fall for the desirability of how something sounds versus the feasibility, how it actually works. If I say I can make everyone a millionaire tomorrow, you're going to say, system, what's the catch? But when the government says it, we're going to give reparations, and reparations, we're going to give every black person $5 million. We're supposed to go, yay. Like, that's not going to shoot inflation off the woozan. Like, that's crazy. But let's listen to a little bit of this video. Charlie Kirk shuts down 3 arrogant college students. The first one is the most arrogant. I did not like this dude when I first saw this video. But let's look a little bit into this, and then I'll finally end the video. So let's go. Let's take a quick look.
Dropped out of college, and your highest
community college.
Sorry, your Harper College experience.
Yeah,
I apologize.
barely was smart enough to make it through community college.
Okay, so
barely made it through high school.
Your
too.
highest degree level is an honorary doctorate degree from Liberty University.
No, that's true. I do have an honorary PhD.
Yeah. So essentially, what are your qualifications for arguing that college is a scam, or really having any economical knowledge at all, when likely the vast majority of the students here know more than you about economics as a whole?
Okay, so
Oh no. I froze. Did I freeze? Oh no, I froze. What? Okay. I'm back.
no, hold on. It's okay, guys. It's okay.
Okay.
Who's Milton Friedman?
Who's Milton Friedman? I have no idea, and it's not important to this conversation.
Who is Ludwig von Mises?
These are all probably economists, and they're the same.
Yeah.
The same
who
thing.
is John Maynard Keynes?
Okay, obviously I know who Keynes is.
Oh. I don't know what's going on, man. I think it's all good now. Okay. Okay, I think it's all good now because the thing was freezing on me. So he's debating about economists. This guy's probably an economist major. So let's continue the video because something wonky was going on.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
It's the most famous economist of all time.
You don't know Milton Friedman?
I mean, that's an economist.
Okay, how about Murray Rothbard?
That's another economist.
F.A. Hayek?
I don't know who that is.
Well, then you just came here and insulted my intelligence. You're right, I barely made it through community college because I was too busy, I don't know, starting a national youth movement with hundreds of thousands of members.
Hey, hold on, though. Hold on.
Employing hundreds of people, raising hundreds of millions of dollars,
yes,
having a top 10 most popular podcast,
sure,
and reaching tens of millions of people online every day.
Sure,
but hold on.
But you're also
what
calling all of your constituents idiots by saying they participate in a scam.
See, the left don't listen either, right? That's the arrogance. He don't listen. You can call something a scam, like, oh, this car, you got scammed to buying this car. Doesn't mean he's calling you a sucker necessarily. It just means, hey, you're being duped. Hey, the way they're portraying something is not quite what it seems, not quite what it's marketed to. Because all the negative outcomes that come with college, you get all this student loan debt, and majority of people don't work in the fields that they got a degree in. He's just pointing that out. I say, hey, don't you find that a problem? But no. He's just sitting here trying to justify or trying to win an argument. And then he tries to challenge Charlie Kirk's credentials. And this is one of the biggest problems that I have with college, honestly, is that it gave people, just because they're good at memorizing and regurgitating information, it gave the degree symbolizes some form of status. Like, oh my God, I'm intelligent because I graduated from college. And I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that logic. I don't subscribe to that mindset. I believe, hey, your actions, your deeds, because at the end of the day, if you got a degree in basketball, I'm not going to sit here and assume you're a good basketball player, right? I'm going to evaluate you. Hey, okay, here you go. Let's go play basketball. And just because you went to school and you know all the theory behind shooting of the perfect free throw, the perfect crossover, doesn't necessarily mean that you're intelligent or you're going to be a good basketball player, right? Because all they're really doing is mentally conditioning you or teaching you knowledge, right? But how you apply that knowledge is what's most important, because how you apply that knowledge is what gives you that outcomes. Because end of the day, this is why I don't put much stock on IQ, because if you have a high IQ and I have someone with a low IQ and I feed the person with low IQ good information and I feed the person with high IQ bad information, if the two debate, who's going to win? Obviously, my chances, my bets on the low IQ guy with good information, because it doesn't matter how smart you are, you can't out debate the truth. You can't out debate facts, and that's what college has become. I believe college is in more of an indoctrination camp than it is an educational institution. Because if it was an educational institution, he would know some of the contrarian thinkers to most commonly known liberal economists. He knew all the liberal economists, but he didn't know none of the conservative or the libertarian economists. That shows you that college is what? A filtering system. It filters out information that they believe is not preferable for you. And you wonder why a lot of young people is so much in favor of socialism, even though socialism does not have a good track record of actually working. And every single country that a socialist in my comment section told me is actually socialism, the country themselves designate themselves as a capitalist country, Sweden being the most popular example. Trey's work says, I regret going to college. It hasn't helped me at all. But that's the social pressure they put on high school kids to go to college. I have plenty of friends that know a lot about history, but they're broke. Just have knowledge without being able to make money is useless. Exactly. Because the point of an institution is, what are the outcomes? What are you doing this for? You learned how to fix the car because what's the outcome? You had a practical use for learning that. That's why I find it like, if I had to rewrite the whole education system, I would make it skill-based, not knowledge-based, not abstract, theoretical, because college is very theoretical, right? We learn things in theory and all that stuff, but it's limited opportunities to apply. Certain fields, there's applicable knowledge like software engineering or computer science. You can apply it. You don't even need a college degree to do this stuff. This is why a lot of these Gen Zers want to be influencers, because you can just do the thing. You could just read the books. And people stop reading books after they graduate from college. So the only reason people are actually learning things is to get good grades, get a college degree, to get a credential. I believe in lifelong learning, because lifelong learning is, I believe you stop learning when you die. But college, it put this mental block where people feel like once they get the degree, they're a know-it-all. And this is what's happening with this arrogant student.
Their
Hold on a
shirts
second.
right there.
I'm
College
calling
is
the
a scam.
institution a scam.
So then
I never
why,
insulted the intelligence. I just had 10 people come up and we had warm conversations. So you asked, what are my qualifications? I'm a job creator, entrepreneur, autodidact. Do you know what that word means? Self-taught. Yeah, self-taught. You should probably learn that word if you're going to come up and insult other people's intelligence.
Hey.
So autodidacticism is what Leonardo da Vinci was. You don't have to go to college to be wise. You don't have to go to college to be intelligent. I read 100 books a year.
And that's the social conditioning that many of us has gone through. Like, oh, you're not qualified because you didn't go to school for that. So effing what? Oh, you didn't go to journalism school. So who are you to report on the news? I just do it. I am what I repeatedly do. That's another philosophy. Is someone a doctor because they went to school for being a doctor, or someone's a doctor because they know how to be a doctor. They know what's necessary. They have good outcomes being a doctor. If I told you, hey, there was a kid and he grew up in poor circumstance in a war-torn area, and he learned how to do surgeries trying to save people in his war-torn area, versus a kid that went to medical school for 16 years, who will be the better doctor? You can make the argument that the person who has applicable, practical experience will be a better doctor than someone who spent a large part of it in theoretical class. Now you can make the argument, hey, look, no one's going to take a chance operating on them no one wants to be the first test dummy. I understand that. But that's why I like apprenticeship. Why not have our kids after high school go directly work for a hospital, and they just intern for 12 years. Learn all here, you need to learn this. Here, you need to learn that. Like it was back in the day. If you wanted to be a blacksmith, you went to a blacksmith shop and you asked, hey, can I work under you? Are you taking students? I think that would be that's me being too practical. Obviously, probably the solution is more in the middle, but I believe there needs to be alternative ways to receive a credential, to be given an opportunity to work, because that's what college has become. College is not a giver of opportunity. College, in a way, is a gatekeeper of opportunity, because if you don't have the college degree, you're not going to get a job. That's the narrative that we've been told. But nowadays, many people, Amazons of the world, Walmarts of the world, they're lowering their degree requirements because they're realizing, these kids don't know ish, but they know how to protest. They know how to give pronouns. They know all the political jargon and stuff. They know about white adjacent. They know about all this useless crap that's only theoretical, but when you ask them to prove this stuff in reality where it matters, they can't do nothing. They know what a social construct is, but when you ask them to debate the topic on social construct, they can't tell you what it is. Word games. And then when Charlie Kirk says college is a scam, it's an indoctrination camp. It's only meant to indoctrinate you to perceive anti-American leftist values. And we wonder why the youth is always so liberal. The youth is always to the Democrats. It's because they've been conditioned since high school. All these political messaging, women learn about feminism in public schools and all this stuff. They've been conditioned to be anti-family, anti-conservative, right? And this is why Gen Z men are the most conservative in recent memory, because we're more likely to be self-taught. We're more curious about information online. Like when I watch political stuff, it's mostly men that I relate to. Now there's women out there that talk about politics, but when I talk about politics with my wife, she's like, oh, okay. Like she just wants to know. She doesn't want to get into the discussion. She don't want to get into no debate or like have a deeper conversation about things. Sometimes it is, if it deals with education, my wife takes more interest in that. But that's the reality. I find it that men are more likely to look at these information. That's why they like to label men, oh, you guys are prone for misinformation. When in reality, misinformation is just code name for alternative evidence, alternative facts that challenges the mainstream assumptions about a lot of these topics. I digress. I want them to finish out this interaction.
I visit over 150 colleges.
I'm not saying you're unintelligent. I'm just saying you lack qualifications.
Well, are you a New York Times bestseller?
Of course not. I'm in college.
Got it. So I'm just trying. What are my qualifications? I have published books, read lots of books, dialogued with a lot of people, and instead of asking what my qualifications are, can you name one thing I've ever said that? Hold on. Name one thing I'm wrong about.
You literally just now incorrectly cited the difference between socialism and communism. While you yourself.
How so? What did I do?
How so?
Because you didn't teach you didn't say it the exact definition I've been taught it. You see what college is doing? College is not producing people who can critically think and come to their own conclusions. College is essentially creating people that only know how to defend and argue the status quo. And if you make arguments that goes outside of the status quo, they're conditioned to revolt against you and challenge you. Oh, you explain socialism wrong. How I explain socialism. Socialism is slavery. That's an incorrect definition of socialism. Here's the true definition of socialism. Regurgitate definitions taught to him in school. Then I go into the practical, because socialists, this is why I say socialists are, in a way, they're con men. They're stake oil salesmen. They sell you the dream of socialism, right? They tell you, oh, look, we all can have free stuff, and the economy working well for everybody. But then when you tell them the reality, okay, here's in history has every failed attempt at socialism. Every self-proclaimed socialist that attempted to usher in socialism did socialism wrong, or that wasn't real socialism. Every single socialist. Hitler, socialist. Oh, that was fascism. Still socialism. It's still a branch of socialism. What's his name? The Chinese people in China. They're the communist revolution. No, that's a communist country. Socialist. Karl Marx, the founder of communism, he has stated that socialism is a transitional state to communism. Socialism's entire point is to overrule and to overthrow capitalism to allow socialism. Thank you, Cheesework. Mao. The North Korean guy as well. Starving his people because there was enough food being produced that he took all the farmland, fed his people, because this is socialism. Your neighborhoods will be poor, you will be poor, but your politicians will live like noblemen and kings. This is why you have to do your own education. There's a series that I think I did a book series on my previous live streams. I forget. Maybe I'll start doing those again. But I have a book called The Naked Socialist, and I go through all the themes of socialism, because socialism's central theme is centralized power, where a group of individuals dictates the structure of society and how distribution of wealth is created, or how the distributions of people's labor is spread out in the society. And since we're flawed human beings can be wrong. So imagine you give someone absolute power over an entire society, like a king, because that's what socialism is. Socialism essentially is a monarchy, or you're creating an autocracy around a certain group of people, whether that be politicians, noblemen. That's why I say even a monarchy, in my argument, monarchy will be classified as a socialist system. That's my argument. Because my thing is, the minute you centralize power, you give someone too much authority, it's more socialist. That's my argument. And if a king, what happens when you get ruled by a bad king? Famines, destruction, tyranny. Is it any surprise that socialists, every self-proclaimed socialist said, I know what real socialism is. And then when they go out and when the people fall for it, and this socialist tries to do it, when things go wrong, people are not incentivized to be productive. People are being lazy because whether they work or don't work, they're guaranteed to get an outcome. And then what they have to resort to? Force. Oh, we're gonna kill people if you don't work. If you don't do what we say, we utilize force to force you to be productive because the government needs this stuff to be done. But the people don't feel up to it because you took out the purpose for them to do. You took out the purpose for them to be productive in the first place. Incentives. Socialism always gives an incentive for laziness. And laziness breeds unproductivity. And without productivity, you can't have any resources. You can't have access resources, right? Systems and buildings don't get maintained. So what's the last resort? You have to use force. And you become a what? Dictator, a tyrant. They say democracy leads to socialism. So whenever the Democrats sit here and say democracy, red flags flick out in my head and say, "Oh, that's how you get socialism." This is why I say we're a republic, and this is why the founding fathers chose to make America a republic. There's no merit-based incentives in socialism either. Exactly. It's just whatever the government gets to decide, you get to do. But this college student will say, "You're wrong. You're wrong. You said something negative about socialism. You're wrong. You say socialism is slavery. That's not true. Capitalism is slavery." How am I a slave if it's at will employment? I can quit at any time. I can go to another job at any time. But you mad because I want to get paid what I negotiate, not what you perceive that I'm supposed to. Oh, that's not a livable wage. This is what the business owner can afford to pay me for this job. If I don't like it, I'll go find something else. At will employment. Freedom to buy, freedom to sell, freedom to try, freedom to fail. But capitalism is slavery. That don't make sense to me. But socialism definitely slavery. I work, you take 90% of my money? What? Free healthcare for all of us, but we all don't utilize healthcare the same way? Healthy people use healthcare less than unhealthy people, but we all got to pay the same high prices? We all got to get taxed equally to subsidize the people who use healthcare the most? That's an incentive for people to stay fat and lazy, not take care of themselves. Like it's craziness. But that's what government do. Government is an incentive structure. Whatever you incentivize, right? A famous businessman, I think his name was Charles Morgan, I forgot his name. But he had a quote where he said, "If you show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome." If you put an incentive where you don't want the man in the house, the outcome will be single motherhood. Empirical evidence. And time again, this has been proven to be true. And this is why I believe in that. That's wisdom. Wisdom is understanding, hey, it may sound good, but every time it's applied, and this is why it's important to learn history, you can predict what is likely to be the outcome. You can see the trend coming before it happens. But because leftists, they don't believe in facts, they don't see facts. Oh no, we didn't try hard enough. We didn't do it a different way. They always try to find justification, rationalizations to keep pursuing this path, no matter how many times it fails. Because in reality, they're not pushing these policies to help you. They're pushing socialism because they want to be at the top of the pyramid, dictating how everything goes. That's the reality of it. That's why when the Democrats sit here crying about our democracy, I switch it and say our power, because that's the reality. That's all they really want. Pelosi, Newsom, they act like nobles. If you look through history, the current political class we have right now, they act like noblemen. Oh, he's a Kennedy. What? That's not supposed to be how our politics go. Just because you have a last name of some political party, it shouldn't be a family of people running politics forever, like the Clintons, Pelosi's. I think Newsom is Pelosi's nephew or something in law or some shit. I don't remember. But in my head, I'm like, yo, like no one should feel entitled to a position. This is why a lot of people are in agreement of term limits. You had people, Democrats, dying in office. You have people dying in office of old age. Dana Frankenstein, I believe her name was. 95 years old. Your butt's supposed to be retired 30 years ago. Still in Congress. Because you can't let go of power. That's why I say Joe Biden ain't leaving until August. This man gonna fight to stay in office. This man gonna fight to stay on the ticket. He's gonna fight to stay in the 2024 race. Feinstein. Thank you.
Claimed that Russia was socialist. Russia was
the
never
Soviet
socialist.
Union was socialist.
No, it was a communist nation. There is a significant difference between the two.
Why did Lenin say that socialism is the gateway to communism, and he was self-described socialist in his private treatise and documents in the Russian Revolution?
Lenin was overtaken by Stalin.
Hold on a second. No,
So-
Lenin died, and then Stalin was his successor.
Yes.
So, but Lenin himself said, quote, that socialism is the introductory phase to communism. Did he not say that?
So then the vast majority of people, when they're referring to communist Russia, are referring to Stalin's rule over Russia. That was a communist rule that turned into a fascist rule later on.
Okay, so but what thinker was deified in Soviet Russia?
What thinker was deified?
Yes.
Marx.
Oh, and what book did Marx write?
Yes, he wrote Capital, and he also wrote the
Communist Manifesto. Who was his co-author?
Who was co-author?
Yeah, Engels. Good. I'm glad college is really paying off for you.
Hey.
So, but it's okay. It's fine. He comes up here and insults my intelligence. What are your qualifications? Doesn't even know the co-author of the Communist Manifesto or Das Kapital. But no, let me just
Does my lack of knowledge on that mean that I have no knowledge? Again, is that the same thing?
But that's the same. Like, that's the same thing he tried to do. He tried to use his credentials that because you're not certified or you don't have the validation from a certain institution, he is not qualified to give his opinion on these topics. That's the same argument. It's the same argument the left loves to use. Oh, I'm not a biologist, so I can't therefore say I don't know if men or women are the only two genders out there. Right? They use it when it's convenient for them. And then when Charlie's hitting back saying, hey, look, you don't know anything you're talking about. All you do is got a college degree. Oh, no, doesn't mean I don't have any knowledge about it. But so then the thing would apply to Charlie as well. And this is why I talk about consistency. Like if you have a standard, you have to equally apply it to yourself as just much as you apply it to the other person. Trump better put in congressional term limits. If Trump don't have a supermajority, there's no way he can be able to do that, honestly. Because you're asking Congress people to vote against their own interests. I don't think that he is stepping up. No, Kevin, that man gonna fight. Like you see Trump when he fight. Nah, Trump, Biden gonna fight. You think Jill gonna let him go out quietly into the night? You think Jill's gonna let Joe Biden, walk quietly into the nursing home? You really believe that? Hunter Biden, Dad, I'm gonna go to jail if you don't stay as president. Like, I don't know. I could be surprised. Maybe they give Biden a deal that he can't refuse. I don't know. If he does, he's going to take the entire party. He is. I'm tired of seeing Mitch McConnell and Feinstein. Feinstein's dead, I think. Dana Feinstein is dead. She passed away, bro. I'm done with the video, by the way, but let me see. She passed away, bro. (2022). She passed away. Oh, no, sorry. Where was it? Where is it? Yeah, see, look. Died. September 29, 2019. 90 years old. Washington, D.C. Dana Feinstein. Mitch McConnell still kicking, boy. Bernie Sanders, too. Bernie old ass. He's still in the office, too. This is ridiculous, bro. Noblemen. No, we have to rule over them. And it's still a point where many people think it's the baby boomers infantilizing the other generations of people because of the fact that we haven't had the opportunity to gain any responsibility over the country, right? honestly, bro, this stuff is insane, bro. This stuff is insane. But no, I want to finish. I'm invested in the conversation. I gotta let this end. I gotta let this end.
Insulted me, and you came up here guns a-blazing, man. And let me just ask again, what did I say that was wrong? I said that under the generally agreed upon definition of communism and socialism, which are interchangeable terms, one is a more harsh degree of the other, is that the elimination of the family, the elimination of private property, and the deprivation of basic human rights such as right to speech, right to assembly, and right to worship. How is that not a good definition of communism or socialism?
That explains
the
fascism better.
Well, but in the Communist Manifesto, Marx said, quote, "We are here to destroy the nuclear family and eradicate the family because it was the original oppressive, tyrannical structure." He said religion is the opiate of the masses and that private property must be eradicated. I have just now documented all three of those with evidence back to original source documents.
Imagine saying the two people that gave you life, right? Because end of the day, your mother and your father, you're their child because of their engagement of their love, right? And keep it family friendly here. And you were born from that union. And then your parents are essentially your teachers, your guide. They show you how the world is. They show you the current environment, how you're going to survive, how you make your way into society. They socialize you so you can become a part of the society. Essentially, your parents are a tutorial. And you see how Marx spins it? Marx says they are oppressing you. They're trying to control you. What does a 6-year-old boy knows about the world? Without his parents' guidance, that 6-year-old will kill himself. Ridiculous. Great video. It's been great speaking with you, brother. Have a fantastic night. You too as well, Cheeseworks. And I'm about to call it a night pretty soon as well. But hey, I digress. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys had a good night. I know it was pretty late. It's like 10:15 p.m. Eastern time over here, but I appreciate you guys all coming out. Appreciate you chatting with many of you. Kevin McMillan, hopefully I said that name, McMillan. Cheeseworks. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate you guys engaging in the chat. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you guys next week on Friday nights as usual. And I'll see you. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment as well. I'll have the timestamps out probably tomorrow morning because I'm pretty tired. But thank you for all coming out. Thanks for watching the video, and I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.